First contact. The forest was alive with the sound of rain. Thunder rolled in the distance, and flashes of lightning lit up the dense canopy of trees. Lily, a curious 16-year-old girl with a knack for exploring, pulled her jacket tighter around her as she trudged through the muddy path. She loved the forest near her home. It was her escape from the chaos of the world. But tonight, it felt different. Something was off. The air seemed heavier, the silence between the thunderclaps too eerie. Then she saw it. A streak of fire tore across the night sky, blazing like a falling star, but much closer. It smashed into the forest with a deafening crash, shaking the ground beneath her feet. Lily's heart raced as she hesitated, debating whether to run home or investigate. Her curiosity won. It always did. She made her way toward the crash site, stepping carefully over fallen branches and avoiding the slippery rocks. The glow of the wreckage came into view. Metallic, steaming, and alien, pieces of the craft were scattered across the forest floor, glowing faintly in hues of blue and green. The sight was both mesmerizing and terrifying. "This isn't a plane crash," Lily whispered to herself. Her breath hitched as she got closer. She crouched behind a large tree, peeking at the shattered craft. Its design was otherworldly, with smooth curves and symbols that seemed to shift and shimmer. Sparks crackled from exposed wires, and a faint hum filled the air. Lily's gaze darted around the clearing. Was anyone, or anything, inside? A soft sound made her freeze. It wasn't the wind or the rain. It was a low, pained moan. Slowly, she turned her head and saw them. Two figures emerged from the shadows, limping and leaning on each other. They were tall and slender, their skin shimmering faintly under the glow of the wreckage. One was clearly an adult, her movements protective and deliberate. The other was a child, small and fragile, clutching her side, as if in pain. Lily's first instinct was to run, but something stopped her. The child's eyes, wide and filled with fear, met hers. They weren't monstrous or terrifying. They were pleading. The taller figure, the mother, noticed Lily and immediately stepped in front of her daughter. Her stance was defensive, her large, glowing eyes narrowing. She made a sound, a warning growl mixed with what could have been a word. Lily raised her hands, palms up, and stepped out from behind the tree. "It's okay," Lily said softly, her voice trembling. "I won't hurt you." The mother tilted her head, her expression unreadable. She said something in a language Lily couldn't understand, her voice melodic yet sharp. The child whimpered, and the mother turned to comfort her, gently touching her cheek. Lily could see now that the child was injured, a dark green liquid, blood, perhaps, oozing from a wound on her arm. Lily pointed to herself. "I can help." She gestured toward the injured child. "Let me help." The mother hesitated, her eyes flickering between Lily and her daughter. Then, slowly, she stepped aside, though her posture remained tense, ready to strike if Lily made the wrong move. Lily knelt down, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. She pulled a small first aid kit from her backpack, something her dad had insisted she carry on her adventures. She opened it and showed the contents to the mother, hoping to convey her intentions. The mother watched intently, her glowing eyes narrowing but not stopping her. The child flinched as Lily gently cleaned the wound. "It's okay," Lily whispered, her voice as soothing as she could make it. "This will help." The child's eyes softened slightly, and she tilted her head, mimicking Lily's expression. It was such a human gesture that it startled Lily for a moment. Who were they? And why were they here? Just as Lily finished bandaging the wound, a sharp noise made all three of them snap to attention. Voices. Human voices. They were distant but getting closer. Flashlights cut through the darkness, their beams bouncing off the trees. A search party. Lily's heart pounded. If the searchers found these two, there was no telling what they would do. Capture them. Experiment on them. She didn't want to find out. "Come on," Lily whispered urgently, motioning for the mother and child to follow her. She grabbed the child's small hand and felt the alien's fingers tighten around hers. It felt warm, familiar, even. The mother hesitated for a moment, then followed, glancing back at the wreckage one last time before disappearing into the forest with Lily. They moved quickly, weaving through the trees and avoiding the beams of light. Lily led them to an old, abandoned cabin she had discovered years ago. It was small and falling apart, but it would provide some cover. Once inside, she turned to the mother and child. "You'll be safe here," she said, though she wasn't entirely sure herself. The mother watched her closely, her expression a mix of gratitude and caution. The child, however, smiled faintly at Lily, mimicking her once again. Lily couldn't help but smile back. For the first time that night, she felt a flicker of hope. But as she looked out the cracked window at the distant glow of the wreckage, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning trust tested. The rain had slowed to a faint drizzle by the time Lily lit the small lantern in the corner of the cabin. The flickering light cast long shadows across the dusty walls, and the faint smell of mildew filled the air. Kalira, the alien mother, sat protectively beside her injured daughter, Zara, her sharp, glowing eyes locked on Lily with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. Lily busied herself rummaging through an old wooden cabinet. The supplies were sparse, just a few canned goods and some tattered blankets. She pulled out a worn wool blanket and approached the two aliens cautiously. Kalira tensed, her movements deliberate, like a predator ready to pounce. "It's okay," Lily said softly, holding out the blanket. "It's just to keep you warm." Kalira stared at the fabric, her expression unreadable, then slowly reached out and took it. Her long, slender fingers brushed against Lily's hand, and for a moment, they both froze. Lily felt a strange warmth radiating from Kalira's touch, not just physical warmth, but something deeper, almost like a pulse of emotion. Was it fear? Gratitude? Both. Zara, the child, made a soft sound, a mix between a hum and a chirp. Lily turned to see the young alien trying to mimic her movements again, this time pointing to her own small blanket of silver material draped across her shoulders. "You're trying to understand me, aren't you?" Lily whispered, kneeling to Zora's level. "You're just a kid, like me." Zora tilted her head, her large eyes shimmering faintly. She reached out, touching the badge on Lily's jacket, a patch from her favorite band. Then, to Lily's surprise, Zora mimicked the sound of the band's name. Rift Tide. Lily's jaw dropped. "You can learn." Kalira, still wary, interrupted the moment with a sharp word in her alien tongue. The sound echoed through the small cabin like a command, and Zora quickly withdrew her hand. The connection was broken, and the silence felt heavy again. Suddenly, a faint sound from outside made Lily's heart skip a beat. The crunch of boots on wet leaves. She darted to the window and peered through the cracked glass. Flashlights were sweeping the forest in a slow, methodical pattern. The search party wasn't giving up. "They're still out there," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. She turned back to Kalira and Zara. "You can't stay here. They'll find you." Kalira's gaze sharpened, and she pointed to Zara, then made a sweeping motion toward the ceiling. Lily frowned, trying to understand. Kalira repeated the gesture, more urgently this time, her glowing eyes pleading. "You're hiding her from someone worse," Lily guessed, her voice dropping to a whisper. Kalira didn't answer in words, but the look in her eyes confirmed it. Whoever, or whatever, was after them, the humans outside were the least of their worries. Lily moved quickly, pulling an old map from the cabinet and laying it out on the floor. "If we can get past the ridge," she said, tracing a route with her finger, "there's a cave system they won't know about. It's not far, but we'll have to move fast." Kalira studied the map, her expression unreadable. She said something to Zora, her voice soft and melodic. Zara chirped in response, then reached for Lily's hand again, this time with more confidence. The touch felt lighter, almost like a bond was forming. Lily smiled despite the fear bubbling in her chest. I think she trusts me. Kalira, however, didn't seem as convinced. She stood, towering over Lily, and made a deliberate motion, pointing at Zora, then at Lily, and then toward herself. The meaning was clear. Hurt her, and I'll destroy you. I get it, Lily said, raising her hands in mock surrender. I'm on your side, okay. As they prepared to leave, a strange noise filled the cabin. A low, pulsing hum that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Lily looked around, her heart racing. What is that? Kalira's head snapped toward the sound, her body tense. She grabbed a small, spherical device from her belt, pressing a button that made it light up with swirling symbols. Zara whimpered, clinging to her mother's side. What's going on? Lily asked, panic rising in her voice. Kalira didn't answer. Instead, she moved to the window and scanned the forest with a predator's precision. Then she pointed to the sky and spoke a single word, her tone grim. Hunters. Lily's stomach dropped. Hunters? You mean, like aliens? After you. Kalira nodded, her expression dark. She gestured toward Zora, then back to the map. It was clear now. Getting to the caves wasn't just about hiding from humans. It was about survival. The pulsing hum grew louder, accompanied by a faint vibration in the ground. Lily grabbed her backpack and slung it over her shoulder. Okay, no time to argue. Let's go. Kalira scooped up Zara, who wrapped her arms tightly around her mother's neck. The three of them slipped out the back door of the cabin, moving swiftly into the dense forest. The rain had stopped completely, leaving the ground slick and treacherous. Lily led the way, her flashlight off to avoid detection. Behind them, the hum grew louder. A faint, eerie glow lit up the treetops, casting unnatural shadows on the ground. Lily glanced back and froze. A sleek, black craft hovered silently above the forest, its lights scanning the ground like searchlights. Kalira grabbed Lily's arm and pulled her forward, her grip firm but not unkind. The message was clear. Don't stop. Keep moving. As they neared the ridge, a new sound cut through the night. The sharp crack of branches breaking. Lily's pulse quickened. The search party was getting closer. She turned to Kalira, her voice urgent. We need to split up. I'll distract them so you can get to the caves. Kalira hesitated, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. But then Zora reached out, touching Lily's arm. For a moment, their gazes locked, and Lily felt that strange warmth again, a connection she couldn't explain. Kalira nodded. She understood. Go, Lily whispered, her voice trembling. I'll catch up. Kalira and Zara disappeared into the shadows, leaving Lily alone in the forest. She took a deep breath, steeling herself as the searchlights closed in. This was far from over. The stranger. The forest was eerily silent, save for the occasional crackle of twigs beneath Lily's boots. She crouched low behind a moss-covered boulder, heart pounding as the beams of flashlights swept through the darkness. Somewhere behind her, Kalira and Zara were moving toward the caves. She hoped they were far enough away. But then she heard it, a sound that didn't belong. A voice, human but low and calm, speaking into some kind of device. They're not far. The signal's stronger here. Move out, but stay quiet. Lily pressed herself tighter against the boulder, holding her breath. The search party wasn't just a group of local authorities. They were coordinated, organized, and they were closing in. A shadow passed nearby, and she gripped the stick she'd picked up earlier, though she knew it wouldn't be much help. Just as she prepared to move, a figure stepped into the clearing. But it wasn't a soldier. The man was tall, wearing a sleek, black jacket that seemed out of place in the rugged forest. His posture was too relaxed for someone on a search mission, his movements too deliberate. He carried a small device in his hand, and its faint, rhythmic beeping made Lily's stomach churn. He wasn't looking for wreckage. He was tracking. Lily froze, unsure whether to run or stay hidden. Before she could decide, the man stopped, turning his head slightly as though he'd sensed her presence. He crouched, plucking a small, charred piece of metal from the ground. The wreckage. Well, well, he murmured to himself, examining the fragment under the beam of his flashlight. You're not from around here, are you? Lily's fingers clenched around the stick. She couldn't let him find Kalira and Zora. Summoning her courage, she stepped out of the shadows. Hey, she called, her voice steadier than she expected. What are you doing? The man turned slowly, as though he'd been expecting her. His expression was calm, almost amused. I could ask you the same thing, he said, slipping the metal fragment into his pocket. What's a kid doing out here in the middle of the night? I live near here, Lily lied, gripping the stick tighter. I heard the crash and thought it might be a plane. The man smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. A plane crash. That's a good guess. He stepped closer, his eyes narrowing slightly. But you and I both know that wasn't a plane, don't we? Lily's heart raced. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think you do, he said, tilting his head. You're a smart girl. Brave, too, stepping out here all alone. That tells me you've seen something. Maybe. Someone. Lily took a step back, her instincts screaming at her to run. But the man held up a hand. Relax, he said, his tone almost friendly. I'm not with them. He gestured toward the distant glow of the search party's flashlights. I'm here for the same reason you are. To help. Help, Lily said, her voice dripping with disbelief. You're tracking them. That doesn't look like helping. The man chuckled, tucking the device into his pocket. Touché. Let's just say I have a professional interest in your friends, but I don't want to hurt them. Quite the opposite, actually. Who are you? Lily demanded, keeping her distance. He hesitated for a moment, then extended a hand. Dr. Marcus Lyle. Scientist, researcher, occasional trespasser. You could say I've been following their story for a while. Lily didn't take his hand. Their story. Marcus nodded, lowering his hand with a faint sigh. The crash. The signal. It's not the first time it's happened. These aliens, they're not invaders. They're refugees. I've been trying to make contact for years. Lily's mind raced. Could she trust him? He seemed to know more than anyone else, but something about his calm demeanor unsettled her. If you're trying to help, why are you tracking them? Because they're in danger, Marcus said, his tone suddenly serious. And not just from the military. Their signal wasn't just picked up by us. Something else is out there. Something far worse. Lily's stomach nodded. She thought of the strange hum and the glowing craft that had hovered over the forest. The hunters, she whispered. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. So you do know something. Lily clenched her jaw. If you really want to help, then stay out of my way. Marcus sighed, pulling the device back out of his pocket. Look, I know you don't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either. But if we don't work together, your friends won't survive the night. And neither will you. Lily hesitated. She didn't trust him, but he seemed to know things she didn't. Things that could save Kalira and Zora. Finally, she said, fine. But if you try anything, you'll regret it. Marcus smirked. Fair enough. They moved quickly, heading in the direction of the caves. As they walked, Marcus explained what he knew. The hunters are a rogue faction. Aliens who prey on their own kind. They're after something specific, something your friends probably have. Like what? Lily asked, glancing at him warily. I don't know, Marcus admitted, but it's valuable enough for them to risk coming here, and dangerous enough to get the military involved. Lily's grip tightened on her flashlight. She thought of Zora, her innocent curiosity, and Kalira's fierce protectiveness. Whatever they were running from, it was bigger than she'd imagined. As they approached the ridge, Marcus suddenly stopped, holding up a hand. Lily froze, listening. The hum was back, louder now, accompanied by the faint crackle of energy in the air. Marcus's face darkened. "They're here," he whispered. Lily's heart sank. The hunters had arrived. Escape plan. The ridge loomed ahead, its jagged silhouette cutting through the misty night sky. Lily crouched low behind a cluster of rocks, her pulse thundering in her ears. Beside her, Dr. Marcus adjusted a small device, its screen glowing faintly with strange symbols. "They're scanning for energy signatures," he whispered. "We can't stay in one place for long." Lily glanced back toward the forest. Somewhere behind them, Kalira and Zura were heading toward the caves. The thought of the hunters catching them sent a cold shiver down her spine. She turned to Marcus, her voice sharp. "You said you had a plan. What is it?" Marcus smirked faintly, as though amused by her urgency. "We need to reach the wreckage. There's tech on board that can mask their signal, but it's not exactly portable. We'll have to improvise." "That's your plan?" Lily hissed. "Improvise?" Marcus shrugged. "It's gotten me this far." Before Lily could argue, a low hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. The ground beneath them vibrated slightly, and the faint glow of a craft's searchlight swept over the ridge. "They're close," Marcus said, his voice barely audible. "We need to move." Lily followed Marcus as he led the way down a narrow, rocky path. The forest below was bathed in an unnatural blue light as the hunter craft hovered just above the treetops, its sleek, black form almost invisible against the night sky. The hum grew louder, accompanied by an occasional burst of static that made the air feel charged with electricity. "What do they want with Kalira and Zara?" Lily asked, keeping her voice low. "They're not after them. Specifically," Marcus explained, his tone grim. "They're after whatever tech they're carrying. Probably something stolen or experimental. To hunters, it's not about survival. It's about power." Lily's jaw tightened. "They're just a mother and daughter. They're not a threat." Marcus gave her a sidelong glance. "You'd be surprised what people, or aliens, are capable of when they're desperate." As they approached the crash site, Lily noticed something strange. The wreckage was no longer smoldering or sparking as it had been earlier. Instead, it seemed to pulse faintly, as though it were alive. A soft, rhythmic glow emanated from the twisted metal, casting eerie shadows across the clearing. "What's happening to it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus knelt beside a fractured panel, his fingers tracing the glowing symbols. "It's self-repairing," he said, almost in awe. "This isn't just a ship, it's a living machine." Lily stared at the wreckage, her unease growing. "Living? Organic tech," Marcus said, his tone matter-of-fact. "Far beyond anything we've developed. That's why the hunters want it, and why we need to use it before they get here." Before Lily could respond, a sharp crack echoed through the forest. She spun around, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. For a moment, all she saw was the dense foliage, but then she caught movement, something fast and predatory, darting between the trees. "They've sent scouts," Marcus said, pulling a sleek, cylindrical device from his bag. He pressed a button, and the device emitted a faint, high-pitched whine. "This'll jam their sensors for a few minutes, but it won't hold them off forever." Lily gritted her teeth. "Then let's hurry." Marcus directed Lily to a section of the wreckage that appeared intact. "We need to find the core," he said. "It's the ship's brain. If we can access it, we can activate the signal dampener." Lily hesitated, her eyes scanning the dark forest. "And if we can't?" Marcus's expression darkened. "Then your friends are as good as dead." Determined, Lily climbed into the wreckage. The interior was unlike anything she'd ever seen, smooth, iridescent surfaces that seemed to ripple under her touch. Strange symbols floated in midair, shifting and glowing, as though responding to her presence. She felt a strange pull, like the ship itself was alive and aware of her. "This way," Marcus called, his voice echoing faintly through the twisted corridors. Lily followed him into a central chamber. At its heart was a glowing sphere, suspended in midair by beams of light. The sphere pulsed faintly, its rhythm almost like a heartbeat. "That's it," Marcus said, approaching the sphere with careful precision. "The core." Suddenly, the hum of the hunter craft grew louder, accompanied by the sharp crack of branches breaking outside. Lily's stomach churned. "They're here." Marcus didn't look up. "Keep them busy. I need a few minutes." "Are you kidding me?" Lily snapped. "I'm not a soldier." "You don't have to be," Marcus said, his tone calm but firm. "Just buy me some time." Lily wanted to argue, but the urgency in Marcus's voice stopped her. She grabbed a metal shard from the ground and slipped out of the wreckage, her heart pounding. The forest was eerily still, the hunter craft hovering just above the treetops. Then, without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows. A sleek, insect-like creature with glistening black armor and glowing blue eyes. Its movements were unnervingly smooth, almost mechanical. Lily's grip tightened on the shard. "Stay back," she warned, though her voice shook. The creature tilted its head, as if studying her. Then it let out a low, guttural hiss and lunged. Lily barely had time to react. She dodged to the side, swinging the shard wildly. It glanced off the creature's armor, leaving a faint scratch but doing little to stop it. The creature turned toward her again, its movements fluid and imprecise. Out of nowhere, a bright flash lit up the clearing. The creature screeched, recoiling as a beam of energy struck it. Lily turned to see Marcus standing at the wreckage entrance, holding a strange, gun-like device. "Get in," he shouted. Lily didn't hesitate. She sprinted back to the wreckage, diving inside just as Marcus slammed a panel shut behind her. "Did you do it?" she gasped, her chest heaving. Marcus grinned, holding up a small glowing device. "Signal dampeners online. They won't find us now." But as the hum outside grew louder, his grin faded. "Of course, that doesn't mean they'll stop looking." Betrayal and revelation. The tension in the air was electric. Inside the wreckage, the faint hum of the alien ship systems mingled with the rhythmic pulse of its glowing core. Lily leaned against a fractured wall, catching her breath, while Marcus fiddled with the dampener device in his hand, his expression unreadable. "They won't be able to trace the signal now," Marcus said, his voice calm but clipped. "But that doesn't mean we're safe. We need to move." "Move where?" Lily shot back, her voice tinged with frustration. "Kalira and Zara are still heading for the caves. What if the hunters go after them?" Marcus hesitated, then gave a faint shrug. "They'll be fine. The dampener should mask them too." Lily didn't like his tone. Too casual, too dismissive. Something about him had felt off from the start. But now, with the hunters closing in, the feeling was growing stronger. She narrowed her eyes. "Why are you really here, Marcus? And don't give me that 'I'm just a scientist' story." Marcus looked up, his smirk faint but infuriating. "I told you. I've been following these aliens for years. I've seen their tech, their abilities. It's incredible, world-changing. And now," he held up the dampener, the glow reflecting in his eyes. "Now it's within reach." Lily's stomach sank. "What do you mean, within reach?" Before Marcus could answer, a loud crash echoed from outside the wreckage. The ship trembled slightly, and Lily felt the vibrations under her feet. The hunters were getting closer. "We don't have time for this," Marcus said, moving toward the exit. "You coming, or are you staying here to play hero?" Lily hesitated. Every instinct told her not to trust him, but she couldn't protect Kalira and Zara on her own. Gritting her teeth, she followed him out into the forest. The night was alive with the glow of the hunter craft. It hovered just above the treetops, its searchlights sweeping methodically across the ground. The air was thick with a faint crackle of static, and every sound seemed amplified. The rustle of leaves, the snap of twigs, even the shallow rhythm of Lily's breath. As they moved through the trees, Marcus suddenly stopped. He crouched low, pulling out a small device that looked like a cross between a tablet and a scanner. The screen displayed shifting symbols that meant nothing to Lily, but Marcus seemed to understand them perfectly. "They're heading toward the caves," he muttered, almost to himself. Lily's chest tightened. "Then we need to get there first." Marcus didn't respond. Instead, he pressed a button on the scanner, and a faint signal pinged in response. Lily froze, her eyes narrowing. "What are you doing?" she demanded. Marcus glanced at her, his expression cool. "I'm calling them." For a moment, Lily didn't understand. Then it hit her like a punch to the gut. "You're working with them," she whispered, her voice trembling with anger. Marcus stood, slipping the scanner into his pocket. "Not exactly," he said, his tone maddeningly calm. "But let's just say I've made a deal. The hunters want the tech, not the aliens. I give them the core, and they leave. Simple." "And what about Kalidra and Zara?" Lily asked, her voice rising. "You think they'll just walk away?" Marcus shrugged. "Not my problem. Besides, you don't know what they're carrying. That ship," he pointed back toward the wreckage, "isn't just a transport. It's a weapon, and a dangerous one at that." Lily clenched her fists. "They're not a threat. Zara's just a kid, and Kalira's trying to protect her. They didn't ask for any of this." "Maybe not," Marcus said, stepping closer. "But this isn't about them. It's about survival. And if I have to choose between humanity and a couple of fugitives, I'll pick humanity every time." Lily's anger boiled over. "You're a coward." Marcus's smirk faltered for the first time, and a flicker of something, regret, maybe, crossed his face. But it was gone in an instant. "Call it whatever you want," he said. "Just stay out of my way." Before Lily could respond, a piercing shriek cut through the air. She turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a hunter, its sleek, insect-like form glistening under the glow of the craft's lights. It moved with terrifying precision, its glowing blue eyes locking onto them. Marcus raised his weapon, but the hunter was faster. It lunged, knocking him to the ground and sending his device skidding across the forest floor. Lily didn't think, she acted. Grabbing a heavy branch, she swung it with all her strength, striking the hunter's armored back. The creature hissed, turning toward her. For a moment, she thought it would attack, but then it froze, its head tilting as though listening to something. It hissed again, then turned and vanished into the shadows. Lily stood frozen, her heart pounding. Marcus groaned, sitting up and clutching his shoulder. "What just happened?" she asked, her voice shaky. "They found the caves," Marcus said grimly, his gaze fixed on the direction the hunter had gone. "And your friends." Lily didn't wait. She sprinted toward the ridge, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Marcus called after her, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. Kalira and Zara needed her. When she reached the edge of the forest, she saw them, Kalira and Zara, cornered by two hunters near the cave entrance. Kalira stood protectively in front of Zara, her glowing eyes fierce, but Lily could see the fear in her posture. "Leave them alone," Lily shouted, her voice echoing through the clearing. The hunters turned toward her, their blue eyes glowing ominously. One of them hissed, stepping forward, but before it could reach her, Zara did something unexpected. She stepped out from behind her mother, raising her small hand. A faint light began to emanate from her palm, growing brighter with each passing second. The hunters froze, their movements jerky and uncertain. The light pulsed once, then exploded outward in a wave of energy that sent the creatures sprawling. Lily stared, her mouth hanging open. What was that? Kalira turned to her, her expression grave. "Zara," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "She's the key, the connection." The clearing was still, the air charged with the faint hum of Zara's energy wave. The hunters lay scattered on the ground, twitching as if caught in the throes of an invisible force. Lily stared at Zara, her heart pounding. The child's small hand still glowed faintly, its light pulsing in a rhythm that felt almost alive. "What? What just happened?" Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. Kalira knelt beside her daughter, gently touching Zora's face. "She's stronger than I thought," Kalira said, her voice thick with both awe and fear. "But it's too soon." "Too soon for what?" Lily demanded, stepping closer. "What is she? What are you hiding?" Kalira looked up, her glowing eyes meeting Lily's. For the first time, Lily saw something beyond fear in Kalira's gaze. She saw guilt. "We didn't come here by accident," Kalira said, her voice trembling. "We came because of her." Lily frowned, her mind racing. "What do you mean? You said you were running from the hunters." Kalira nodded. "We are. But Zora, she's not just my daughter. She hesitated, searching for the right words. "She's a bridge." "A bridge?" Lily echoed, confused. Kalira gestured toward Zora, who was now sitting quietly, her glowing hand dimming. "She carries the essence of both our species, yours and mine. Long ago, our ancestors worked together. They shared knowledge, energy, even emotions. But something happened. The connection was broken, and our worlds became strangers to each other." Lily's breath caught. "You're saying humans and your kind used to be connected?" Kalira nodded. "Yes, Zara is proof of that connection. Her ability to manipulate energy, it comes from both sides. She's the first of her kind in generations." Before Lily could respond, Marcus stumbled into the clearing, clutching his shoulder. His face was pale, but his eyes lit up when he saw Zara. "So it's true," he said, his voice tinged with both awe and greed. "She's the key. The hunters weren't just after the ship. They were after her." Kalira rose to her full height, her body tense. "You betrayed us," she growled. "You led them here." Marcus raised a hand, his smirk faltering. "I didn't know about her, I swear, but now that I do." He glanced at Lily, then at Zora. "Don't you see what this means? Zara isn't just a child. She's a weapon, a solution. With her abilities, we could fix everything. Energy crisis, wars, even." "Stop!" Lily snapped, stepping between Marcus and Zora. "She's not a weapon. She's a kid." Marcus's expression hardened. "You don't understand. This isn't just about her. It's about survival. Ours and theirs. If we don't harness her power, someone else will. Someone worse." Kalira stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "She's not yours to use." The tension in the clearing was palpable. Lily could feel the weight of Zora's presence, the unspoken power radiating from the child. For a moment, no one moved. Then, a faint hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. The hunters were stirring, their sleek, insect-like forms twitching as they began to rise. Marcus cursed under his breath, fumbling for his weapon. "They're waking up," he said. "We don't have time for this." Kalira scooped Zora into her arms, her movements swift and protective. "We need to leave." "No," Marcus said, stepping forward. "Not without her. If we lose her, we lose everything." Lily's frustration boiled over. "Do you even hear yourself? She's not a thing, Marcus. She's a person. And right now, she needs our protection, not your experiments." Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but the sound of a loud mechanical screech cut him off. The hunters were fully upright now, their glowing blue eyes fixed on Zora. They moved in perfect unison, their sleek bodies almost gliding across the ground as they closed in. Kalira turned to Lily, her voice urgent. "Take her." "What?" Lily said, stunned. "Take Zara and run," Kalira said, thrusting the child toward her. "I'll hold them off." "No," Lily protested. "I can't." "You must," Kalira interrupted, her tone fierce. "She trusts you. She'll listen to you. And you." She paused, her gaze softening. "You have more of a connection to her than you realize." Before Lily could process the words, Kaelira turned to face the hunters, her stance firm and unyielding. She raised her hands, and a faint glow began to emanate from her body. The hunters hesitated, as if recognizing the threat. "Go!" Kaelira shouted, her voice echoing through the clearing. Lily hesitated for a split second, then grabbed Zora's hand and ran. As they darted through the forest, Zora clung tightly to Lily's arm, her small hand still faintly warm with the remnants of her energy. Behind them, the sounds of the battle grew louder. Kaelira's powerful roars mingled with the hunters' shrieks and the crackling of energy blasts. Lily's chest burned, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. She glanced down at Zora, who looked up at her with wide, trusting eyes. "Stay with me," Lily whispered. "We're going to make it." Zora didn't respond, but her grip tightened slightly. It was enough. When they reached the mouth of the cave, Lily pulled Zora inside, her legs trembling from exhaustion. She crouched behind a large rock, catching her breath. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel the weight of everything that had happened. But as she looked at Zora, who was staring at her with a strange mixture of fear and hope, she realized something. This wasn't just about Kaelira and Zora anymore. It wasn't even about the hunters. This was about something far bigger, a connection that spanned worlds and centuries. And somehow, Lily had become a part of it. "We'll figure this out," she said, her voice steady. "I promise." Zora tilted her head, her glowing eyes shimmering softly. Then, for the first time, she spoke a single trembling word. "Lily." A new hope. The cave was cold and damp, its walls shimmering faintly in the moonlight that filtered through cracks in the stone. Lily crouched beside Zora, her heart racing as the sounds of battle echoed faintly in the distance. Kaelira was still out there, fighting to protect them. Lily's fists clenched. She couldn't let her sacrifice be in vain. Zora sat quietly, her glowing eyes fixed on Lily. The child's small hand trembled slightly as it rested on Lily's arm. Despite the danger, there was something calming about her presence, as if she was trying to reassure Lily without words. Then Zora spoke again, her voice soft but steady. "Lily." The sound of her name, spoken in that childlike yet melodic tone, sent a wave of determination through Lily. Zora wasn't just a frightened kid. She was something more, something extraordinary. And Lily was the only one who could protect her now. Lily leaned closer, keeping her voice calm despite the chaos outside. "Zora, do you understand me?" Zora tilted her head, her glowing eyes studying Lily intently. Then, slowly, she nodded. It wasn't much, but it was enough to spark hope. "We need to find your mom," Lily said, pointing toward the cave entrance. "She's still out there. We can't leave her behind." Zora hesitated, her gaze flickering toward the cave's exit. Then she shook her head, her small fingers gripping Lily's arm tightly. "Danger," she whispered, her voice trembling but clear. Lily swallowed hard. Zora wasn't just afraid, she was warning her. "The hunters." Zora nodded, her luminous eyes dimming slightly as if in sadness. Then she raised her hand, the glow returning. The light began to pulse rhythmically, and an image flickered in the air before them. Lily gasped. The image wasn't just a projection, it was a memory. It showed Kaelira standing in a similar cave, holding a smaller version of Zora. Around them were other aliens, their faces solemn and determined. One of them handed Kaelira a small device, its glow matching Zora's energy. "What is this?" Lily asked, unable to tear her eyes away. Zora pointed to the memory, her voice trembling. "Key." Lily's brow furrowed. "Key to what?" But Zora didn't answer. The image shifted, showing the hunters storming the cave, their blue eyes glowing ominously. Kaelira fought them off with ferocity, but she was clearly outnumbered. The memory ended abruptly, leaving Lily with a sinking feeling. "They've been after you for a long time, haven't they?" Lily said softly. Zora nodded. The faint hum of the hunter's craft grew louder, pulling Lily out of her thoughts. She peered out of the cave, her stomach nodding. The glow of the craft's lights was visible through the trees, sweeping the forest like giant, unblinking eyes. Lily turned back to Zara, her voice firm. "We can't stay here. They'll find us." Zara hesitated, then raised her glowing hand again. This time, the light grew brighter, its pulses quickening. Lily felt a strange warmth spreading through her chest, a sensation that was both comforting and overwhelming. "What are you doing?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zora looked at her, and for the first time, Lily saw something unmistakable in the child's eyes. Trust. The glow from Zora's hand expanded, enveloping them both in a soft, golden light. Lily felt a rush of energy, as though every cell in her body was coming alive. The light filled the cave, erasing the shadows and banishing the cold. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the glow faded. Lily blinked, her vision adjusting to the dim light of the cave. Zara's small hand rested in hers, and she was smiling, a faint, hopeful smile that tugged at Lily's heart. "What was that?" Lily asked, her voice shaky. Zara tilted her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "Connection." Before Lily could respond, a sudden roar shattered the quiet. She turned to see Kalira stumbling into the cave, her body battered and bruised but alive. Relief washed over Lily as she rushed to help the alien mother. "They're coming," Kalira said, her voice strained but resolute. "We don't have much time." Lily helped Kalira sit, her mind racing. "We can't keep running. They'll just keep finding us." Kalira nodded, her glowing eyes flickering toward Zora. "There's only one way to stop them." "What do you mean?" Lily asked. Kalira reached into a pouch at her side, pulling out a small crystalline device, the same one from Zora's memory. "This is the key," she said. "It can destroy their craft, disrupt their network, but it requires her." Lily's chest tightened. "Zora, she's just a kid." Kalira's gaze softened. "She's more than that. She's our hope." The hum of the hunter's craft grew louder, shaking the ground beneath them. Lily turned to Zora, who stood quietly, her small hand once again glowing faintly. The child met Lily's gaze, her expression calm despite the fear in the air. "You don't have to do this," Lily said, her voice trembling. "There has to be another way." Zora stepped forward, her glowing hand brushing against Lily's. "Together," she said softly. Lily's breath caught. For a moment, she hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, she nodded. "Okay. Together." Kalira activated the crystalline device, its glow matching Zora's energy. The air around them seemed to hum with power as Zora stepped forward, her small form radiating light. Lily held her hand tightly, refusing to let go. The hunter's craft appeared outside the cave, its searchlights blazing. The hunters themselves advanced, their movements swift and unrelenting. But Zora didn't flinch. She raised her hand, and the glow intensified. A wave of energy exploded from the device, sweeping through the forest like a tidal wave. The hunters froze, their sleek forms crackling with energy. The craft above them shuddered, its lights flickering before going dark. When the light faded, the forest was silent. Lily knelt beside Zora, who leaned against her, exhausted but alive. Kalira approached, her expression a mixture of pride and sorrow. "You did it," Lily whispered, her voice breaking. "You saved us." Zora looked up at her, her eyes glowing faintly. "We saved us." Lily smiled, her heart swelling with a strange, bittersweet joy. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something bigger, something more connected than she had ever imagined. And for the first time, she truly believed in a new hope.